I remember when the first book happened, Scabbers bit Goyle's finger. And then I had a question for you guys. I was I said something like, oh, how do we like Scabbers? Isn't he great for biting Goyle's finger? And we're all like, yeah, we love Scabbers. Scabbers is the best. And you go, oh no, or something like that. I gotta find it. What do you guys think of the hero, Scabbers the rat, bravely biting Goyle's knuckle?
I don't want to answer this because I'll give something away.
Because you're what?
I don't want to give anything away. So you guys answer.
Scabbers might have more roles to play in the future. Well.
He's like half
Goyle's
dead.
knuckle. You have a rat bite on his knuckle or something.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at you being like, no.
Stop giving
Do
things
not.
away.
Do
And you asked a
so
question
funny.
and genius me because like I didn't train my brain yet. I'm like, I'm not going to answer that because I already know something. Or I don't want to give something away.
Yeah, that
Text
puts
me
you in
later,
such a
you're
tough
like-
spot.
I texted you later. I was like, you need to put a cap on anything.
That
you
is
say.
so funny.
So then from there, that's why when you pointed out, I just go stiff.
That's
why.
But that's fine. Just be silent sometimes to throw us off.
I'm
you
getting
know?
used to it. I'm getting used to it now. That
Oh,
was,
you've
like,
done really well. I've
the
never
beginning.
picked up on anything from you.
That
So
was
it's
just such a funny one. It's not a major one.
Oh man.
Oh, it was such a minor one, but I was dying as soon as that
and
happened.
I didn't think anything of it because I just thought you don't like rats or something. Maybe I don't even remember it. Literally not in my memory, but
Good.
it
So I didn't ruin it for
it was
you.
very subtle. Whatever your response was.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Although I think we had predictions that he has powers, right? So that wasn't
Yeah, you
far-fetched.
did. Yeah, which was
Yeah.
really funny.
13 years old makes it kind of
Yeah.
weird.
For that whole podcast, you were like, he's got to have powers or something like that. And you stayed on that point for like a minute. And I'm like, I can't wait to revisit this. I'm like, throw that in this podcast right here. It was so good. Which is why I'm saying your guys' theories are so good. For book 1 and 2, some of the things that you guys have said have been the height of enjoyment for me.
Oh boy.
Because
And then that he's a dog, black hair, curly. I knew it.
I know you
Was it
guys
curly?
were
Was it
so
shaggy?
close.
And you're like, did it say he has black long hair? I was like, yes, it did.
Wait.
The
So
dog.
no, they definitely said the dog, but did it say that Sirius Black had long hair or shaggy hair?
were
or
trying
to
something?
find that.
Because
in
I
the
didn't actually
beginning.
find it, but I didn't look that hard. I thought it was
You
only.
did. I thought you sent us a text.
I
with
sent
it.
the thing because I thought it was James Potter.
Yeah.
Because it does specifically say that he had black shaggy hair. Literally
right.
described it the
I mean,
same way.
It's the same conversation.
So
we had last
when I
time.
sent that in the text, I was like, "Oh yeah, this dog is James Potter.
That
He
would've been
never
a
died. He's
wild
been keeping
turn.
an eye on Harry this whole time." That was my theory there.
Yeah, but then that'd be messed up. He doesn't turn into a human to say hi to Harry.
yeah.
Yeah,
That
but
would be messed up.
he could have his reasons.
Yeah, okay, Danny.
But at that point, I was thinking he was evil. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, James Potter and Sirius Black are both evil, and that's when I thought Sirius Black might be Crookshanks. And I'm still confused about Crookshanks because I'm like, this is not a normal cat.
Yeah,
eyeing
I
you guys
know,
up for
still.
facial.
Oh, I have no idea. I was fascinated by Crookshanks.
Oh, that's also weird. I'm like, no, Crookshanks would have to be a character in the movies.
I still
But
can't say that name out loud.
Crookshanks?
Call him Crookie.
Crookie,
Crookie, Voldy.
McGonagall.
That's right.
I'm like that K into
Welcome
the sh.
to-
Like, I can't do it. So Crookie it is.
Wait, where is that?
Oh,
yeah.
you're looking at the beginning for
My
the
eye.
description in the newspaper.
Yeah, it's chapter 2.
Ooh, wow.
But
What are we looking up?
If we know that Sirius Black had black hair, like if we could have come to that conclusion without knowing. Yeah.
You guys were on to Crookshanks though for a while. That was like your thing that you were like, Crookshanks has to be something. There's something weird with Crookshanks.
Yeah.
Like it's an obvious one because that's how she leads you. But oh, it was so fun. Last podcast when you guys were talking about that, I was like holding my breath because you were so close. I was like, come on, just move a little bit more. You're so close. But you just couldn't get there.
we wouldn't, even if we said it, we wouldn't have been confident in it.
I know for sure.
But that's part of the fun, you know?
Yeah, I like it. I thought.
Yeah, well,
And that's what I'm trying to do too. I'm realizing with some of the questions, I don't want to like ask too many leading questions where you're like, why does he keep asking about the Whomping tree? Like,
But I
need to
didn't
figure
even
something out with
recognize that until now. Like,
Yeah.
so, like,
Yeah.
you
That's
asked
the-
it a
that's
bunch
the
of
fun
times.
thing.
Yeah, you asked a bunch of times, but to me, I was like, oh, okay.
So that's why you're gonna have revelations. I love the pace of what we're doing, where we're like 4 or 5, we're like 3 or 4 podcasts ahead of behind where we're reading. So like we're at the end of Prisoner of Azkaban, and we released 1, and now you go revisit the first
Listening to it,
podcast
yeah.
of Prisoner of Azkaban, and you're like, oh my gosh, how did I not see this and this
Yeah.
and this? It's all in there, which is such a fun reading experience. Yeah, it's the best.
Yeah, you're right. I'm
I
starting
like
to.
it. And also, I feel like we sometimes focus on things that mean nothing too. So it's fun. There's enough balance there that it hasn't been suspicious.
Trying to ask some more meaningless questions just to throw you guys off my scent.
Wait, Jen, are you still looking for the description? Because the one I was thinking of in the newspaper is at the first page of chapter 2, which is
So
page
17.
16 and 17.
Yeah. Well, did you find something?
No, that's where it doesn't talk about his hair or anything.
It says on here, it says, no need to tell us he's no good, snorted Uncle Vernon, staring at the top of the newspaper. The prisoner. Look at the state of him, a filthy layabout. Look at his hair, and he shot a nasty look sideways at Harry. So I guess to me, I assumed he looks like Harry, like
Shaggy for sure.
But I was thinking everything.
Yeah. Oh, you were thinking even like the black hair, like similar. Yeah, I think maybe I thought that as well, but
I think I was right.
I think you were for sure right. But I don't feel bad about not catching that one because
you weren't as smart as me.
that's
just
why.
waiting for
Exactly. I'm like, I still think he's James Potter.
I don't feel bad for not catching that. Tell me.
Well, I really wanted to get that. Who is that?
This is Sirius Black in his book.
Oh my goodness.
Right? Isn't he so much more menacing?
That is creepy.
Yeah, right?
I don't
I
like
don't
that.
like that because
don't like
he's
it.
been wild for years.
I loved his story about the dog, how he was able to turn into it and the
Oh yeah,
prison.
that is fascinating.
I was so happy. The first podcast that we recorded for Prisoner of Azkaban, you said, "Oh, look at the moon. It's like a full moon." And then really subtly, I go, "Oh man, it's like a werewolf comes out or something."
Yep.
And I was like,
I wanted to say something. I was like,
yeah, I know. I remember looking at you and like, a werewolf. Oh, it was so good.
Wait, then we went on a tangent about werewolves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not really.
Crazy
Was
long
that
one. We
wasn't
talked
it?
about
Yeah, just like a
Kraken.
quick
Yeah.
like.
Like, can they be?
We did
cute?
that when Snape mentioned werewolves.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. I
that was
trust you guys. My timelines
Isn't
are
it crazy
all
how
messed
when you look back at this book, there's so many like things that
Yes.
glare at you. Like you guys, for so long,
Lupin?
were thinking of Crookshanks and the dog. It didn't cross your mind to figure out what Scabbers was doing. Like you guys, I remember
I already
there was one
trusted him.
point.
I'm like, he's part of the crew.
He's been for 2 years. He's been in Ron's sleeping in Ron's bed.
Yeah, but
You're
then-
like, of course he's fine.
What about that little thingy that like spins? Was it always spinning then?
Anytime that Scabbers was around, it was spinning.
And
so
that
that
we
was
were
the
blaming
indication.
Crookshanks
That's why.
for it the
Yeah.
whole time.
So that's why I was trying to get you guys to believe it wasn't working.
And I was like, it can't be Lupin because I like him now.
yeah.
And then I was like, it's Crookshanks.
That's crazy.
I'm still not so sure I trust
But then-
these guys though.
Yeah.
Because Sirius Black and Lupin and this whole like thing, it just still feels a little funky. I need Dumbledore to weigh in on this because so far they're the only ones telling their side of the story, and Snape is unconscious and Peter Pettigrew is tied up or something, and I'm just like, this feels awkward. I'm not into this yet.
Yeah.
That's why I'm excited to read on because I want clarity so I know who to root for.
Also,
I knew you were going to be questioning everyone still. I'm reading it and I was like, Danny's not trusting these guys still.
Yeah, like
sure.
It almost felt like Snape was the hero when he came in, and I was like, there he is. He was like doing this whole thing. He pointed out the werewolves. He's like, he's coming in to save the day. And then I also was excited for Harry when he was stepping up to him, and that felt cool too. But then I was like, you took it too far. What are you guys doing? So anyways,
They attacked a teacher.
yeah, it felt like they were being corrupted. Their innocent little minds corrupted by these wild card characters that are telling tall tales.
Yeah.
And Sirius Black does not have enough discipline, and he keeps trying to attack Scabbers, Peter Pettigrew.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that at length.
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome to our podcast. I'm John.
Jen.
Danny.
And Kristen.
And this is Harry Potter and the First Time Readers. Hello, first-time listeners. That's right, you are dubbed the first-time listeners. One of my favorite Reddit users by the name of Let's Chill Dude has dubbed the community of listeners for first-time readers as the first-time listeners. And I love that. It's going to stick with it. Also, go to the Reddit. Our subreddit is r/first-time readers. r/first-time readers. That's where all the action's happening. We're discussing all sorts of things. We took a break from recording this week. We have a backlog of about 2 more weeks of podcasts. And what I want to do is I want to narrow that gap a little bit more. So it's only about a week of backlog so that we can kind of stay on track with people who want to read with us. So right now we have finished the book of Prisoner of Azkaban, but this book is only talking about the last few chapters. So if you're following along with the podcast, reading along with the podcast, you're going to be about 2-3 weeks behind us normally reading. We want to narrow that gap so that we're kind of reading at the same time as everyone else in this community. Then we can come up with more fun fan theories on subreddit, all that kind of stuff. Also, give us a rating and review as always. We have a review. Finally, we have a review on Apple Podcasts, which it just is by the username Depressed Man. So we're reaching the depressed men, I guess. This one says, it's a very enjoyable podcast. The 2 newbies have great speculations and theories. So much fun. Which is true. Danny and Jen are coming up with great theories about some of the endgame stuff. I'm not going to tell if it's right or wrong, obviously, because it's their first time reading experience. But some of it is just very interesting, and I cannot wait to discuss it. I was just talking to them today in our group chat about a theory I found out on our subreddit about the 6th book, and I cannot wait to tell them. Oh my goodness. I am storing up all sorts of theories because I cannot wait to talk about some of this stuff that comes up later. And that's kind of where we're doing it. A lot of it is on our subreddit, so join us on there. I'm getting really energetic about that. I want to go through the entire Goblet of Fire with everyone. So join us on our subreddit, r/first-time readers. Give us a rating and review. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. The numbers are just increasing, and it's just becoming so much fun. This community is the best. We got listeners from Germany, Ireland, Great Britain, Australia, India. We have a good contingent in India. Some Israelis. It's just so much fun. Thank you so much for listening, and enjoy this podcast of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, chapters 16 and 17. Okay. We are on to chapter 16.
Ah, yes.
So, would one of you like to give me a quick summary of this chapter? Professor Trelawny's prediction.
You want to, Kristen?
I mean,
Yeah, go for it.
I don't know if this encompasses everything. I just wrote, the kids have exams, Trelawny gives a weird prediction to Harry, and Buckbeak is executed.
Rest in peace, Buckbeak.
Was he really executed? No one
Well, you
else?
think so at the end of the chapter, right?
Wait, what? I mean, we heard a thump, and didn't we see his head roll or something? Maybe I just
we
in my
saw
head,
the
but I'm
head
like,
roll? No, we heard about it. Did we see it?
But
I like to believe he did it.
I mean, look, you
Don't get your hopes up, Jen.
Just because you saw the cover of the book, you're like, it's
Shut
gotta
up.
be him instead of I'm like, there's more
No,
than
I'm
just.
with you on that too, though. You don't see it?
I'm thinking.
I don't know.
Well, Hagrid's got a whole herd of these guys. So.
Yeah. Maybe the cover is not Buckbeak. Maybe the cover is another one.
Oh, and the
With
fact that
or...
the word it used was unmistakable. Then, without warning, the unmistakable swish and thud of an axe.
Fine.
I don't know.
Long live Buckbeak.
Poor Buckbeak.
I mean, I'm not going to quite try to drain all of the hope out of you right now in the beginning of the episode, Jen, but this episode starts off with just crazy finals. There's tons of finals and going on, and they're like studying like nuts. Even Fred and George Weasley had been spotted working. But they are talking about spell work and charm work a little bit in the beginning of this chapter, and I just want to talk to you. What do you think is the difference between a spell and a charm? Like, why do they have a class called Defense Against the Dark Arts? Then why do they have a class called Charms?
Wait, the cheering thing is a charm.
The cheering charm, yeah. Or like Transfiguration. Isn't that... What is the difference between Transfiguration and Charms?
I don't know. I haven't been able to put my finger on those distinctions quite yet. Because, yeah, there's like incantations too, and then wands are needed for some, but not for others. I don't know.
Sorry, I'm going to read this. So a charm does not fundamentally alter the properties of the subject of the spell, but adds or changes properties. So you can turn a teacup into a rat. That would be a spell, whereas making a teacup dance would be a charm. So like changing the actual properties of an object makes it a spell. And then the charm, you just like do stuff to it, and that's the charm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
And then they're on their Defense Against the Dark Arts exam, and it says their second from last exam on Thursday morning was Defense Against the Dark Arts. Professor Lupin had compiled the most unusual exam any of them had ever taken, a sort of obstacle course outside in the sun, where they had to wade across a deep padding pool containing a Grindylow, cross a series of potholes full of red caps, squish their way across a patch of marsh, ignoring the misleading directions from a hinky punk, then climb into an old trunk and battle with a boggart. Which of these would trip you up? Out of these 4 obstacles.
Can you say it one more time?
Yeah,
it is. So the first thing they do, they have to wade across a deep padding pool containing a Grindylow.
What's a Grindylow?
There's actually an image in this book.
Ooh, cool.
It's probably
it doesn't have red caps,
and
or
I will
it's probably
die.
gonna trip me up.
anything with swimming.
Ew, yeah, I hate touching
If it's like
the bottom of any ocean,
like
lake.
you can't see through the water.
Ugh.
Nope.
Probably that one.
I was gonna say I'm getting tripped up at the first one. Yep, I'm getting tripped up in the first one.
Are they big and slimy and creepy or something?
They're like ferocious looking frogs,
Ew.
but bigger.
And what do they do?
They
Eat you.
eat you. No, they have very sharp teeth.
Ew, no.
Gross.
Yeah, that'd be kind of creepy, or at least gross.
You love all creatures, though.
I mean, I assume Lupin prepared them for it. It is the final after all. So if there's an easy enough counter to their craziness, maybe I'd be down. But I guess no matter how you slice it, the boggart would be pretty intense. And I feel like during exams, there's so much going on. Maybe not for everyone, but for someone like Hermione, we even kind of see it here, it changes form. So you might go into the final expecting it to be what you've already seen in class. You're like, oh, I know what's coming because this is my biggest fear. The problem is, if you go into it confident because you know what it's going to be, then you're not going to be as afraid of it. It might not even be your biggest fear. So then something new could become the boggart, or the boggart would become your new fear. So that would be, well, by nature, scary, and maybe the hardest part for me.
So we do know what a boggart is. Let me read the descriptions of a Grindylow, a red cap, and a hanky punk. A Grindylow is a small, horned, green, pale-skinned water demon.
Oh, good. Yep, I'm out.
It's worse than a frog.
Yeah, a little worse than a frog. A red cap is a small, dwarf-like magical beast that inhabited wherever human blood had been shed, such as dungeons of castles and potholes of old battlefields, or holes underground.
I'm just failing.
And then a hinky punk is a diminutive, one-legged magical beast with the appearance of a wispy blue, gray, or white smoke. It had proclivity for luring travelers off trail or paths off at night into treacherous bogs or wetlands under the guise of a helpful lamp-bearing being. Yikes. And then a boggart.
Wait, what was the advice Mr. Weasley gave? Did that
swimming.
encompass that? Like about not trusting certain things, or if you don't know where something's coming from?
If you can't like see, what was it?
Wasn't it something with a heart?
Yeah, if it doesn't have a soul.
Doesn't have a soul, or like a...
You're talking about Mr. Weasley, right?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think if that would be
If it has
helpful
a brain,
hearing,
it's
like,
if it doesn't,
brain.
if it doesn't have a brain,
Oh, nice.
to think for itself,
Yeah.
and you can't trust it.
Like if it doesn't have a heart.
Yeah, maybe that wouldn't help through this anyway, but...
Haven't I taught you? What have I always told you? Never trust anything that can think for itself if you can't see where it keeps its brain.
Yeah, Exactly.
So maybe don't listen to voices in a bog as you wander
I guess
around.
that recommendation is
Might
don't
help.
trust anybody.
Yeah, right.
How many
That's
things can you
true.
see where it keeps its brain?
That's true.
So,
No, that's a very fair point.
here's another funny one. Hermione runs out of the boggart, and Lupin tries to comfort her. He goes, "Hermione," said Lupin, startled. "What's the matter?" Professor McGonagall," Hermione gasped, pointing into the trunk. She said I'd failed everything. So, a funny note from previously, when they were talking about like what Hermione's greatest fear was, Ron off the cuff said, "What is your greatest fear? Getting the worst marks on one of your finals or something like that?" And ironically, he was right. He knows Hermione. This was her greatest fear. And then they go into their Trelawny exam, their divination exam. Harry essentially makes up a whole thing. He makes up his own prediction. But if you had to make up a prediction in this class for divination, your final exam, what would you say?
It could be anything.
Yeah, you just have to make a
That's
prediction
what's
and
so
make it sound
crazy.
convincing.
Like, how would she know?
Well, that's the thing. I feel like it feels like she doesn't know much of anything.
I feel like
So, like, maybe that's
I
part
would
of
freak
it.
her out and be like, "You're getting fired in 2 months."
Oh my gosh.
Nice.
That
Freaks out all
would
the
be
kids.
so
That's a good idea,
good.
actually.
Give her a taste of her own
I
medicine.
see your future.
Dumbledore is not pleased with you. So in 2 months, like you're
Ooh.
saying.
Right? Yeah.
One
Really?
teacher will not be here next year.
Well, that's a good one.
She's
'Cause
wearing glasses.
I was gonna say, just describe her
She's her
crazy
classroom
hair.
somewhere in a high tower.
That was good, Kristen. I like that.
Yeah, that's a good
Thank you. My
thought.
brain actually worked today.
You're going to
I
have
feel
to do overtime.
We'll see how long it lasts.
And I feel like just knowing Trelawney, if you predict some kind of death, you're gonna win.
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
She'll be so
great! That's what I
excited.
was looking for. Thank you. So when Harry doesn't predict this, she's really bummed.
Oh, about the bird.
Yeah, the buckbeak,
Yeah, thank
the
you.
bird eagle thing.
Yeah, that I thought was a griffin.
She was like goading him on too. She's like, "Do you see his head
so
removed?"
messed up.
Yeah.
And Harry was like,
Like,
"No,
this
he's
is
flying
like-
away actually." And she's like, "Oh, sorry. I know you did the best that you could."
That's so crazy.
Hmm.
How is that a class still? It doesn't make any sense.
I mean, there's magical components to it.
How is she going to know what you're seeing is true or not? That's what doesn't make sense.
But she could see the same thing from other perspectives, maybe.
Yeah.
Because she's so good.
Maybe. Or has
like,
she
how do
never
I-
actually been right? Well, maybe that comes down to it. Do we actually believe she can see the future? Or anyone can? I feel like she's halfway there. She might be right half the time. What, do you guys feel like
No, I'm
she's
just
never
laughing
right?
halfway there, maybe.
Like, I'm taking some of the stuff she says seriously. But with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Well, do you feel like this is maybe her first real prediction after
Well, that's
Harry
what I'm
leaves?
thinking. Yeah, like this
Yeah.
is no
This one
joke.
weirded
This is
me
a
out.
real one, right? Because her voice deepens, she gets real serious, she goes rigid, her eyes started to roll. Harry stood there in a panic.
Oh,
She looked as
yeah.
though she was about to have some sort of seizure. He hesitated, thinking of running to the hospital wing, and then Professor Trelawney spoke again in the same harsh voice, quite unlike her own. The Dark Lord lies alone and friendless, abandoned by his followers. His servant has been chained these 12 years. Tonight before midnight, the servant will break free and set out to rejoin his master. The Dark Lord will rise again, and his servant's aid, greater and more terrible than and the Dark Lord will rise again with his servant's aid, greater and more terrible than ever before. Tonight, before midnight, the servant will set out to rejoin his master.
And all of the rest of the events of these chapters happen in this day.
Yeah.
So we still don't know who it is who is going to go meet up with Voldemort or whatever, like be his ally again.
Yeah.
Does this make you feel like Voldemort is going to come back at the end of this book?
No, he's still weak and friendless, though.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
feel
but
like
we actually don't know where
Weak and
he
friendless is
though.
one of the best descriptions that I've ever heard of Voldemort. And yeah, we don't know where he is either.
They haven't talked about it at all because they've been focused on Black. So this actually would be a great time for him to come back because no one's actually paying attention to where he is Because they're more concerned about what Black's doing and finding him.
Well, I also feel like he needs something to come back. So he already attempted that in the first book. And so I feel like having an ally is not new. He already had Quirrell, and I feel like he's had other people. He might even have the Malfoys on his side. He needs more than just some allies. He needs like something, I don't know, something magical or something like next level to come back. And so I feel like having an ally is a step in the right direction, but that doesn't mean he comes back. I feel like that is now gives him the tools he needs to eventually come back, or whatever equivalent to the Sorcerer's Stone would be. That he needs like more.
Yeah, but doesn't he still have like allies that we just don't know about?
Well, maybe, but he lies alone and friendless, abandoned by his followers.
But is that Voldemort?
The Dark Lord
They're describing. Or are they describing Peter, whatever his name is?
Pettigrew.
Yeah.
Time out too. How do you think that Voldemort just keeps coming back? Like he came back, so he essentially he didn't die when he failed to kill Harry first. But then how did he not, like, is he just not fully dying right now? And then he's weak and then he regains his power a little bit. How does he actually come back?
I feel like he gave himself some kind of backup plan. Like, we already know he has the power to put his memory, at least his memory, into a diary. And there could be something more to that. Like, it's more than just a memory. It's like a piece of himself. He ground up his old toenails into the paper when he made that diary. You know, like, I don't know. Like, it's like, because even with Polyjuice,
Of all the
we know.
things to choose, why that?
I don't know. Because, like, I it just felt too harsh to say he cut off an arm to put it in, you know, like. But even with a Polyjuice, we know that, like, the essence of a person, quote unquote, can be captured in hair. You get a hair of someone and you put it into this potion and you can look like them. And that's like a dead piece of, you know, like your body, but it still has some essence. So I feel like Voldemort came up with some plan, some magical thing to keep a piece of himself behind. And that's why the whole Peter Pettigrew thing got me going, because even when it first came up in that he was missing a finger and his mom just got that finger, I was like, that finger is suspicious. You can bring someone back if you have a finger. You can throw that in a potion. Yeah, so I think Voldemort could have done something along those lines. Even sacrificed some of his own power to save it for later. I think.
Like,
and that's why, like,
reserves.
and maybe that's why he needs a friend, because he can't
Well, because what
do
is
the
he right
potions
now?
himself. Yeah, I have no idea. He's someone who can live on the back of someone's head.
Right.
Yeah.
And
that
then
person
even
can
after
teach
that
a full year
person-
at Hogwarts.
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know what he is. But there is this part of him. And I feel like maybe that's part of it too. Like, wherever this, I'm imagining like locks of his hair in some secret dark vault, maybe underneath the kitchen of the Malfoys. And he can get his allies to come back and then do some complicated maneuver to bring him back a little bit. And then eventually they'll run out of hair. So he's only got so many attempts to do this thing. I don't know. I have no idea.
Do you think from that hair there's a way that he can regain full strength? Like, so he can maybe come back like half strength, but do you think...
Like he could never meet his full potential before?
Do you think that Voldemort will ever meet his full potential again?
Maybe that's why he needs Harry. Because he left a little bit of himself behind for a backup plan, and then accidentally he put too much of himself into Harry through whatever craziness with Lily that we don't even understand yet. And he's like, hey, I won't be full power, but with my backup plan hair in a safety deposit box, plus whatever I left in Harry, I can at least get halfway there. Or maybe he can suck out the souls of other wizards and get more and more there.
Yeah, like the
I don't
idea
know.
with Dementor sucking out the soul. Maybe
Yeah.
he can do
And
something
even-
like that.
Well, it's kind of lame, but the Harry Potter world is big enough now that you could cut this out if this is too much. Like, Voldemort is a character. You know what I mean? Like, I got his wand the other day. So, you know, like, I'm like...
Wait, you got another wand?
Well, no, one of the 5 that I have is his.
What number
and
are
it's
we
a
at
cool
now?
wand. And I didn't even know it was his because the way
His
the
is very
auction site
cool.
works, it just like gives you a wand and then they're like, it's just like wizard wand is what it was called. So I ordered it and it was like 2 or 3 wands. And then on the thing, it said Voldemort.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, okay. Again, you could cut this out, but I already know Ralph Fiennes plays this dude. Is that how you say his name?
Yeah.
Fiennes?
I think it's Ralph
Fiennes?
Fiennes.
I was just kidding.
Ray Fiennes, actually.
And so I'm like,
Yeah, I think it's weird. I think it's Ray Fiennes.
Is he French?
Or Ralph. Maybe.
Ralph.
well, we've just pronounced his name 6 different ways. Maybe none of them
your
are
pick.
right.
But okay, Ray or Ralph, if you're listening to this podcast, drop us a note. Let us
Go
know.
on our subreddit. Tell us
Which one was right?
On the subreddit.
So I think maybe that's where reading it for the first time back when they were originally coming out, I might have a different idea of it. But like, I feel like he would have a hard time coming back to full power. But there's a way to do it, and that's what he's after.
Interesting.
What do you think, Jen?
I hate you. I just spent 10 minutes coughing in the hallway. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Do you think that Voldemort, what do you think he is right now? And do you think
Where do I think Voldemort
like how
is?
what do you think he is, and how do you think he keeps coming back?
Well, he's like one of the smartest dark wizards, so I feel like he could just live as a spirit too, somehow, just like jumping to people that are in his like clan, which sounds crazy. I don't know.
Ooh. Maybe
He
No, keep going. Because he what? No, I was going to go on another tangent. It was dumb. I'll get there though.
we will get on all the tangents.
I forgot.
Oh no.
No, I guess I just assume that he still has people. I mean, don't they say like the people that were on his team, like they then said, "Oh, I'm no longer with him," once Voldemort met Harry Potter and like he lost all his powers. But I'm sure there's still people or creatures, whatever, that are still on Voldemort's side somehow in secret. And I mean, how did he get Quirrell to have him invade his body? So I'm sure there's others like him. So I guess I just assume that he just jumps around similar to that. And if he could have the diary with all that power, what else, like you were saying, could he have out there?
Yeah, like he had like 200 diaries keeping throughout his life, and all those diaries have like a little part of him in it or something.
Right. And then we only
But-
saw one diary, and it was enough to
1
almost
year.
like
Yeah.
think of all the trouble it caused. And it was like gaining some kind of power from Ginny, kind of, and wanted to do the same from Harry. And that was just a memory, maybe, or maybe it actually was a part of him, and maybe Voldemort learned things through what the memory was doing. And the crazy theory that I was gonna throw out there, we're still trying to figure out what's going on with Hermione, but maybe she did a part of this same maneuver where she's got a clone out there that can go to her other classes at the same time. And as that clone is learning, she is directly absorbing that knowledge because she's creating like another version of herself, and she's using it for good. But Voldemort is doing an extreme version of that for evil, where he's got lesser versions of him out there in the world in the form of diaries or squirrels.
Then he doesn't have a full body form, right? Like every time we saw him, he was like slits in his nose, or like he doesn't have a full nose. His eyes are like, right? Like he looked like a monster more than a human.
He looks more snake-like than anything else.
Right,
And
so
that-
maybe he lives in a snake.
Yeah, maybe like he
Because I was thinking that.
didn't
Sorry.
conceal him. He definitely didn't conceal his nose in some of these diaries because he doesn't have a fully formed nose yet. So, because it does say he has the slits in his nostrils for
Right.
his nose.
Because then I was thinking, Austin, before you were, like if these 3 guys could transform into animals, then Voldemort could do that too, can't he? become like
And these chapters, we saw like students doing things that are kind of crazy. Like we thought Hermione was blazing a new trail with like doing a super advanced potion, polyjuice, that keeps coming up. But like now we're seeing students are learning far more than teachers think they are. Maybe like they're doing these really advanced things. There are only 7 people on this register of people who can turn into animals, and then we find out there are 3 more
unregistered,
and they're students at Hogwarts. They're either really, really incredible, or this registry is a complete farce, and there are people all over the world that just unregistered doing their animal thing.
Go ahead.
Well, one other thing I was thinking is that this is jumping a little bit ahead, but Sirius Black said that when he was an animal, the Dementors couldn't really pick up on his emotions or feelings or whatever. So then that makes me think like, oh, if you do transform into an animal, going on that theory that let's say Voldemort is like a snake or whatever, because maybe it doesn't take up as much energy. I mean, maybe turning into the animal does, but then you can last longer that way. I don't know.
That actually makes sense. That's a really interesting theory. Like you can almost conserve energy if he's like just hanging out as a snake somewhere.
Right, that's what I was thinking. Like you don't need as much power because I don't know.
I think it's a really interesting point that the students are learning a lot more than what the teachers actually think they're learning. I want to tell you guys how difficult it is to become an anime guy. I'm going to read you the instructions on how you become an anime guy.
Turning into an animal.
Yeah,
that's how you say it. I was trying to say it before, and I was like, I do not want to say that. I did say
it's like Animagus.
Before.
You can say it however you want to say it.
I kept thinking you were saying anime.
Anime guy? Animagi?
No, like the cartoons. I'm like, what are you trying to tell us right now?
Okay, so step 1, do your homework. In Transfiguration and Potions, at least, becoming an Animagus requires a witch or wizard to be skilled in both areas in order to stand a chance of achieving such a complex transformation. This is when it begins. Step 2, carry a single mandrake leaf in your mouth for an entire month, from full moon to full moon to be precise. Yes, we're serious. If you swallow the leaf or remove it from your mouth at any point, you have to start the whole thing again. No one likes to see that happen. And then you have to find a small crystal file that receives the pure rays of the moon. Put your saliva-filled leaf inside and add one of your own hairs. Step 3. Add a silver teaspoon of dew from a place that neither sunlight nor human feet have touched for a full 7 days. And if that wasn't hard enough, then you have to add the chrysalis of a death's head hawk moth to the crystal file as well. Then put this mixture in a quiet, dark place and leave it alone until the next electrical storm. And really leave it alone. Don't even look at it. Don't even think about looking at it. Step 4. While waiting for the storm, you must place your wand tip over your heart every sunrise and sundown and speak the following incantation. Amado, Animo, Animado, Animagus. If you keep repeating your incantation, there will come a time when, with the touch of the wand tip to your chest, a second heartbeat may be sensed. Don't change anything. Keep going. Keep waiting for that storm. Step 5. As soon as a lightning appears in the sky, go to the place where you've hidden your crystal file. At last, if you've done everything right, then you will discover a mouthful of blood, red potion inside. Then move somewhere where you aren't going to alarm anyone or place yourself in physical danger during your transformation. An Animagus transformation party is definitely a bad idea. Step 6. Place the wand tip against your heart and speak the incantation Amado, Animo, Animado, Animagus, and drink the potion. You will then feel fiery pain, lucky you, and an intense double heartbeat. The shape of the Step 7. The shape of the creature into which you will shortly transform will appear in your mind. The instructions then warn, you must show no fear. It is too late now to escape the change you have willed. Yikes. Step 8, and this is the last step. When you transform, Or when your transformation is complete, you are strongly advised to pick up your wand and hide it somewhere safe so you can find it post-transformation. To return to human form, visualize your human self as clearly as you can. Don't worry if you can't change back immediately. With practice, you will be able to slip in and out of your animal form at will, simply by visualizing the creature. Once you're an advanced Animagus, you should be able to transform without your wand.
Good Lord.
Isn't that insane?
My question is, how do you eat while that leaf is in your mouth?
Right? I know.
I'm like,
To
that's
be
my
safe,
question.
you would almost have to like not, right?
Yeah. I'm sure.
For a month?
Well, maybe there's a spell
I can't.
you can just transfer
I'm never turning
food
into
to
an
your
animal.
stomach directly. Huh.
But I thought they said that they
intense.
could swap animals in the beginning. Remember when Lupin's first telling the story that Harry Potter's dad was able to be a bigger animal than a werewolf to keep him in line?
But he
But he
that was
always
his
was
form.
that
He always
animal.
was that bigger animal.
I thought that they changed animals. Obviously, if you're saying no, I'm wrong. But
Maybe there was some hint of that they were able to change, but for a while that I read this book too, I thought that you were able to pick whatever animal that you wanted to become, but that's not necessarily true. It's almost the same thing as a Patronus, where this animal is just a reflection of who you actually are.
Ooh.
how
So-
could-
Scabbers is a
but then
rat.
what would
Right? That should have been a clear indication for
Yeah.
me that this guy is
Oh,
not
man.
good.
But in the wizarding world, rats aren't nearly as
Yeah, people have pet
as
rats.
evil as they are in our world, the Muggle world.
But then, But what if James Potter didn't become an animal big enough to keep a werewolf in check? Then this
No.
is all no good.
Well,
But the werewolf only wants to. Wait, do werewolf? No, I'm actually thinking vampires wants to feed off human blood. But it did talk about humans being a particular thing. Like the werewolf seems a little anti-human,
yeah.
but the werewolf doesn't need to kill a rat.
Yeah. And to an extent, too, I think they were less trying to stop the werewolf and more just keeping him company in the Shrieking Shack. Which we haven't even got to those chapters yet, but I think that was kind of the point of it. Like they wanted to become animals so the werewolf wouldn't hurt them, and they can also keep Lupin company while he's in his transformation.
Yeah.
Then later it kind of turned into like, okay, we have with this animal who's going to protect, who can like keep him at bay. But
What kind of animal is that, too? I want to know.
I know.
Anyway, sorry, that's my off tangent.
But okay, so going back to this one vision that Trelawny, or this one prediction that Trelawny has, it might be her first actual real prediction. Probably, right? You think this is a real prediction? And do you think that this makes Trelawny a true seer?
Either that, or she's been faking it this whole time and she's evil.
Ooh.
Whoa.
Yep. And then
how
she
would
could
she
be the
know
one going to
insider scoop?
rejoin her master. Oh, it does say his master at the end of this thing. But
But wouldn't Dumbledore, like, see that? Know
and
that?
yeah, if the professor was up to no good, he would definitely not let them be a teacher.
Yeah, well, it says the
Yeah,
person is
fair,
in
fair.
chains. I was starting to think, like, is it literal chains or is it figurative chains? Like, is she being kept at Hogwarts on purpose?
Ooh. Because Dumbledore does seem to like keeping an eye on crazy people.
Because a lot of his teachers are crazy people. And I do like this too, that like there's people at Hogwarts who are just not good teachers at all, but he just still endures it. And he's like, these are the people teaching at Hogwarts. It's not like they have like the best and the brightest teachers in the world at Hogwarts. It's like they have some terrible teachers, awful teachers. Like, I'm sorry, but fire Professor Binns. That class could be the greatest class ever taken at Hogwarts. The history of magic, like, I'm like, give me all the history of magic. And you have a boring ghost up there who's literally that he has the best job security in the entire world. He's going to have that job for the rest of his existence, which will be forever. He's always going to be teaching history of
He
magic.
doesn't
Right.
even need to.
Yeah, I'm like, fire that dude. Put him in the library as
A librarian.
yeah, seriously. He'd be a great librarian. He would
would
just be able to
be.
like lecture students on the help them out with their history of magic papers. But give me that class. I just want to teach history of magic and make it entertaining and enjoyable for people. This is my application to become a professor at Hogwarts. If anybody at Hogwarts hears this, please.
I thought you wanted to teach at the U.S. school.
Yeah, I do.
Ilvermorny.
Ilvermorny,
Okay.
for sure. But I'm sure they have a more than adequate history of magic professor.
Yeah.
That's great.
Got it.
But yeah, Trelawny is strange in this book. But I think this might be probably her first actual vision.
Yeah, it creeped me out.
Yeah, it did.
But she didn't even like know, right? Like she
didn't know.
and then she's like, wait, what?
And that's what makes me think she's not legit until this, because it was almost like she had never even experienced something legit.
What if
before.
Voldemort took
Talking
over
through
her?
Well, I'm like, it felt like she was demon possessed. All the like descriptions of
Yeah,
her voice
you're right.
lowering. She went stiff, and then
Yeah.
she had no recollection of it. So I was like, I don't know, it's weird. Something took over her.
Is she wearing a turban? She has like a shawl on her
I
head.
mean, she does have big crazy hair.
Yeah, that's true. Voldemort's hiding in there somewhere. On my my
Well, the
my,
last
go ahead.
the last time we saw him, he was in Hogwarts.
Yeah, that's true.
But I don't know if that means anything.
But they go back. Harry essentially goes back to the tower, the Gryffindor Tower, and he talks to Harry and Hermione, or he talks to Hermione and Ron about what happened. Gives them the whole prediction, and then Hermione does something because she's like looking for the, or no, this is what happens. The letter comes explaining that Buckbeak's been sentenced.
They lost
that,
the appeal.
They lost
right.
the appeal, yeah, and that he's going to die. So they say we have to go down, and then Hermione kicks into high gear. Hermione didn't wait for the rest of his sentence. She strode across the room, pushed the fat lady's portrait open, and vanished from sight because she's going to get the invisibility cloak. Has Hermione changed at all from this book to the previous two? And if she has, in your opinion, how has she changed?
She's a lot bolder.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that, I loved it. I wrote that. I was like, I love this new bold Hermione.
Yeah.
She didn't even question it. She was just like, all right, I'm gone.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to get it. I'm not even going to ask you two to do it. So.
And Ron even addresses it. He's like, what got into you? First you're hitting Malfoy, and now, you know, you're... right. And now you walk out on Professor Trelawney, and Hermione looked flattered. She's proud to be a rebel now.
Flattered.
Yeah.
So she's not like ashamed of this new side of her. Maybe she put all of her book smarts into her clone, and now she's just the rebel clone.
Ooh, very interesting. I think it's interesting too. In my opinion, Ron and Harry would have been a lot more bigger idiots if they didn't have Hermione. Hermione is like the balancing force between all this. So like if we learn about the Marauders this chapter of Lupin, James, Sirius, and Peter. I feel like if they had a Hermione character in their friend group, they'd be a lot more balanced out. They wouldn't have been as big of jerks, maybe. They wouldn't have bullied people maybe like they did. Hermione like balances it out, but she is being infected by Ron and Harry. She's like she's becoming a little bit rebellious, and I like it.
I was going to say it's good. She needed a little bit.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who was the Hermione of their age that should have been involved? Maybe just Lily.
Yeah.
Huh.
We don't really know too many wizards and witches.
We don't even know how Lily was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if she was more rebellious than James Potter?
Yeah, that's very true.
Great point.
Just assuming.
Yeah, definitely.
And then they go down to the cabin, and Hermione finds Scabbers. Ron, I don't believe it. It's Scabbers. And they have to escape in a big flurry. And then this is what we were talking about before, but there was a jumble of indistinct male voices, a silence, and then, without warning, the unmistakable swish and thud of an axe. The chapter ends.
We were both just making the same face.
Then we're on to chapter 17.
Wait, can I go back for just a second?
Yeah, of course.
I liked that Hermione was the one to find Scabbers.
Yeah.
I thought that was really just like a little moment because it was like it solidified for Ron that like it solidified for her. It was like, Ron, look, you know, Crookie didn't kill Scabbers. I like that she was the one to find him.
That's right. Yeah, I like that.
She should have just taken her knife right there. Not even told Ron, just slit the rat's throat.
Oh my word.
So many problems would be solved.
So, well, not true. I was like, that was so morbid.
She obviously didn't know this was Peter Pettigrew at the moment, but I mean, it's pet rat.
In that moment, I liked it. Anyway.
Then we're on to chapter 17, Cat, Rat, and Dog. What is a summary of this chapter?
I vote somebody else.
Okay, let me see what I got. Jen, unless you want to. All right. After the execution, all chaos ensues. The dog attacks them and steals Ron and pulls Ron under the Whomping Willow. Sirius Black was the dog. Lupin comes to help and, well, maybe help. And Scabbers might be Peter Pettigrew. So it's just this like weird moment of chaos that doesn't stop. And it's just like, who is what? What's going on? A lot of stuff starts getting revealed.
Tensions start running high.
Yes.
Yep. And when the chapter ends, I think we're already in the Shrieking Shack.
Yeah. We get a little bit of like the download of information at the beginning or the end of this chapter. And this opens up. It just goes before they could even cover themselves again, before they could even catch their breath. They heard the soft pounding of gigantic paws. Something was bounding toward them out of the darkness. An enormous, pale-eyed, jet black dog. Harry reached for his wand, but too late. The dog had made an enormous leap, and its front paws hit him on the chest. He keeled over backwards in a whirl of hair. He felt its hot breath, saw inch-long teeth. Bad injury right here. Breaks his leg. What is the worst injury you guys have had? Jen's got a rap sheet.
I do. Never broke a bone, but everything in between was not so great. I dislocated my right shoulder twice, so that was pretty painful.
And pretty badly too.
Yep. And then I got a softball to the face.
Oh.
I almost broke my orbit, but I didn't. And that's just a couple of them.
Ooh. I don't know the worst injury that I've had. I can't remember.
I mean, I've never broken a bone.
Yeah.
Never needed stitches, thank God. I just faint.
I busted my ankle playing soccer once really, really bad. That might have been the worst. And then I had like a non-contact soccer injury where I like tore something on my knee. And I remember as soon as that happened, like my ears rang. I had an immediate headache like I've never had before. And I was like, I definitely ripped every ligament in my knee. But I didn't actually. Only tore one. But I remember that happening very distinctly. Did they do anything for
that? Oh, don't. Never mind.
That was it was like my outer one or inner one or something like that. So it was able to heal. Or it wasn't the inner one, it was the outer one, so it was able to heal on its own. Kinda. You guys have any bad injuries?
It really grossed me out.
Yeah, Kristen is over there like fanning herself. Ugh.
Nasty.
I guess we'll see one of yours. No, God forbid.
No. Yeah, I was going to say, watch me faint right here. No, I fainted in 7th grade, fell off a stool and hit my head. I mean, nothing really happened. I did a back handspring and landed on my head. Almost had a concussion, but didn't. I was dropped a lot in dance. I fell. I never really, I don't know. I don't have anything specific.
You're like, oh, nothing really happened for any of those. But really, you had a concussion and you couldn't remember anything that actually happened.
Yeah, right.
I didn't actually have a concussion. They were afraid I had one, but.
Man.
I remember one time when we were on a family cross-country trip. We were riding dune buggies in Oregon, and I was chasing my dad and sister. They were in their own, and it was big and powerful, and I was just in like a littler one. And at some point, they went down some hill, and I went to take a shortcut. And then next thing I know, I'm flying off this like cliff. In my mind, it was gigantic. I think it was probably about 6 or 8 feet high, and it was in the dunes, so it was still a pretty big drop. I was fully airborne, and the throttle was on my hands, so like you would squeeze the throttle. So as soon as I hit, it felt like my lower back kind of exploded, and in pain, I just clenched my hands, so I floored it, and then the back of the dune buggy hits the ground, and the front had just scooped up all this sand, so I just floored it, and the whole thing of sand just hits me in the face, and then I'm just like there like screaming, and then my sister and dad turn around, they come back, and my sister was traumatized because she's seeing me like screaming in pain, and sand is in my mouth. I couldn't see, it was all in my eyes. It was just miserable. And then we get back to the car later, and something fell out of the car, and my mom had stayed the whole time. She's like, I'm not going to go on this thing. I'll just sit in the car and read or something. And then me and my brother were always fighting. So we get back to the car, something falls out of the car, and it literally is at my feet. And I'm like, Luke, can you grab that for me? And without question, he just comes out of the car and picks it up. And my mom was like, what's wrong? She knew that something was wrong because he never would have gone out of his way to pick something up for me. So it was just this moment of like, oh, that's really funny. I guess usually we would have given each other a hard time about, hey, can you help me with this? I remember being in pain for about 3 months, but eventually it went away.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, 3 months?
Yeah.
You
it was a long time.
Did something bad to that.
Maybe, but it's never come back. So
I feel like you fractured some kind of vertebrae or something like that.
But it fused and made me even stronger.
That one will never break again.
I don't understand, guys. Like, just go to the doctor. I don't understand.
There's a weird thing with guys. I just don't want to go to the doctor.
But like, if it reached a certain point, I would have. But it just never did. I'm like, it feels like it's 1% better than yesterday. Let me wait another day, and then the next day I'm like, it's probably 1% better than yesterday. Yeah, let's keep this going.
As long as the trend is upward and not downward, and like there's like a line when it hits downward. If it's like at 10%, then I'll go maybe. But if it's like slowly going upward, I'm like, okay, then eventually I'll get better.
Is it the same thing as like asking for directions? Is that it?
Maybe. Maybe there's some comparison. You don't have to ask for directions anymore. You just have Google anyway.
True. So. But back in the day, John, just go with my theory.
Harry and Hermione automatically try to follow Ron into the Shrieking Shack, or into this tunnel that leads to the Shrieking Shack. If one of your best friends, or if your best friend was in the most haunted place in the world, would you go and rescue them?
Probably.
Yeah, probably.
Really?
I don't know.
They got dragged there by a giant dog.
I would never voluntarily go in, but like if someone I love is in there, Mama Bear's coming out. I'm like, I'll do it. I'll be terrified. What?
Would you go if you were voluntold?
I mean, if nobody's like in there, no.
I feel like I'd go.
If I have to like save someone, I'll try. What?
Like go get
I
Dumbledore.
would go get help.
And couldn't Dumbledore apparate and get there so fast? Like, there might have been other options. Maybe even wiser options.
Yeah.
Because we still don't know how this is all going to turn out. You know?
I was just laughing at myself because I'm like, well, I wouldn't use the wise option. I'm the only Ravenclaw in here. Maybe I'm not a Ravenclaw. Maybe that's a lie.
Well, then I'm not brave because I'm not going in there.
We'll swap in that situation.
I told you guys this story off podcast, but it was the fox screaming story. So before I even knew what a fox scream sounded like, I never knew what a fox sounded like. One of my friends, we were like in finals week, and one of my friends, we just finished. We were all doing our last final, and we're like, we're gonna go into the woods and have a fire. And he goes early, and he's like starting the fire, and he's getting everything ready. And he just calls me out of the blue, and he's like, John, there is a woman here screaming bloody murder, like screaming in the middle of the woods. And he's like, I don't know what the heck is happening. And on the phone, he would like be talking to me, and then he'd hear the scream, and he'd put his phone down, and he'd be like, hello, is anyone there? Terrifying. I was so scared on the phone talking to him. He's like, there's someone shuffling their feet nearby. It's like all on the dry leaves. And I was like, my friend is going to be murdered in the middle of the woods right now. Like a Ted Bundy's grandchild is out there or something like that, about to like murder this guy. And so I hang up the phone because I'm like, I'm going to come get you. And then he calls me again as I'm like sprinting up there, and he's like terrified. The same thing. He's like, there's someone screaming murder. There's a woman in like a few hundred yards away, just screaming like she's going to get murdered in the woods. And I remember I got to the start of the path of the forest. It was only like a 200-yard like going into the woods. I hit the very beginning of the forest, and as soon as I took one step onto the path, I heard this blood-curdling scream. And I'm like, a woman is getting murdered in these woods. Gosh. I was like, that's it. It's all
going down right now.
It's all going down. And in my head, I go, what would the wise option be here? I was like, I can go get him, or I can maybe go get security and get help. And I don't know why I did this. I had another friend with me, so this is probably why I was like more courageous. We both looked at each other and we're like, we have to go. So we sprint into the woods, and we catch him sprinting out. We like ran like into each other like 100 yards into the path. And he doesn't stop sprinting. He looks at us and he's like, we're getting out of here. He bolts out of the woods. As soon as we get to the edge of the woods, we call security. Security comes up there. One of the guys from security was like a big hunter, and he got to the base of the woods, and he listened, and he goes, oh, that's just a fox, guys. And we're like, no, it's not. It is not a fox. But it really was. It was a fox scream, which sounds like women screaming. It was terrifying. But if it was the most haunted place in the world, I don't know.
If you didn't have a friend with you.
If I didn't have a friend, I don't know.
I would have done the same thing.
I mean, I say that sitting in a room comfortable with you guys.
Yeah.
We'll see in reality.
Hopefully, never.
Well, yeah, no.
I'd probably say, I think if Harry were by himself, I think he would no question go into the wood or go into this tunnel. I think if Hermione was just by herself, I think she would come up with a wiser option.
Yeah.
I think she would summon something to go send a message to someone else.
Yeah.
Maybe wait there until she had like reinforcements to come and then would go down.
Harry must feel a little bit invincible too.
Yeah.
He's like, I've taken on Voldemort before, multiple times.
He's 3-0, baby.
Yep. He's like cave trolls. I don't care. Or mountain trolls. So there's a certain boldness that almost feels like you'd feel safer running into the woods if you've got a gun on your hip. Well, it feels like Harry's got like a whole arsenal with his one wand. He's ready for action.
This is going back. I don't know why this just came to me, to the question from the last chapter when you're asking where Voldemort is too. Then I was just thinking, doesn't Harry Potter have some of his powers in him? So maybe with Harry Potter being alive, Voldemort can't really die.
Mm-hmm.
Wait. Say that again.
Does that make any sense?
Maybe with Harry Potter alive, Voldemort can't die?
Yeah. Because he has some of the powers. Sorry, this is so like
that because you went out for your coughing fit before, and we did talk a little bit about that.
I missed it. Okay,
no, but that's like
it's not a revelation.
Taking what I said to like a next level, because I was just saying that there seems to be part of Voldemort out there, like in the world, in the form of diaries and other things, or his hair somewhere. But you're saying such a part of him is in Harry that he cannot be defeated while Harry's alive.
So are you saying that Harry has to die in order to
I don't want to
fully defeat Voldemort?
That's not the ending I want of book 7.
Me neither. I don't know.
That would also be kind of fitting.
Because there is somehow tied.
They can't all survive this, can they?
I mean,
we're on book 3. This is all still fun. No death?
I mean, right now, that is Harry's person he would willingly, I think, do that. He would willingly go and die.
Right now, yeah.
Yeah, right now. We don't know him. We still have 4 books to get through, guys. He can completely change by then. That is fascinating. That is a fascinating theory, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. That just came out of nowhere and off topic.
But now we're talking about his servant. And there's another line in this that's just really good, too. Harry and Hermione dashed across him. Ron, are you okay? Where's the dog? Not a dog, Ron moaned. His teeth were gritted with pain. Harry, it's a trap. What? He's the dog. He's an animagus. Right. Ron was staring over Harry's shoulder. Harry wheeled around. With a snap, the man in the shadows closed the door behind them. A mass of filthy, matted hair hung to his elbows. If eyes hadn't been shining out of the deep, dark sockets, he might have been a corpse. The waxy skin was stretched so tight over the bones of his face, it looked like a skull. His yellow teeth were bared in a grin. It was Sirius Black.
Yeah, I mean, that picture is pretty accurate.
Yeah. It is such a good description in this book. This is one of my favorite descriptions of a character so far that we've hit. Where, like, she really knows how to ramp up the drama. And it's like, it was Sirius Black.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited to see this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a good movie. I like this movie a lot. But you guys, did you suspect the dog was Sirius Black? I think we did for a little bit, but...
I feel like we went back and forth.
Yeah. By the end, I did not think so. I was definitely thinking James Potter. But it all makes sense.
That would have thrown a big wrench into the whole plot. Yeah. Oh my gosh. James Potter is alive and he's taking the form of a dog. There's a tender moment here too, where Ron says, if you want to kill Harry, you'll have to kill us too, he said fiercely, through the effort of standing up. Or he said, though the effort of standing up had drained him of still more color. And he swayed slightly as he spoke. So he talks about Hermione's character changing. How has Ron's character progressed over this book? Or over all 3 of these books?
I feel like he's getting more courageous too, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He's not as like scared of things. That's all I got.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he's just scared of spiders, but it does feel like in general he's getting brave.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah, it is interesting. He maybe out of all of his siblings, he was maybe the most nervous to go into Gryffindor, but he's slowly becoming a great Gryffindor.
Yep.
Like he is slowly building courage and getting stronger. And this is a moment that I love for Ron because it really shows his growth of like loyalty too, like even like the Hufflepuff side. So maybe he should be in Hufflepuff. But just like absolute loyalty at the fact that there is a murderer here. At this point, Ron and Hermione, they think that he is going to murder Harry. And so Ron saying this isn't just like talk. Yep. He's almost sitting there waiting and willing himself to die for Harry. He's like, you're going to have to kill me before you get to Harry. He's like sitting there waiting. He's going to fight him, which is like a beautiful thing for Ron, I think. I love that. I think it does show his character progression a lot.
Yeah. Shows the depth of their friendship too. How far they've come.
Yeah.
Yeah, all three of them, I think. Too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, this is when their friendship really takes, I think, a different turn where it's like more than just acquaintances and friends. It's like a deep friendship that they would be willing to die for each other.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. It's happened only like 2 years.
And we also see like what feels like a new side of Harry too, because he wants his wand not to defend himself, but to attack.
Yeah.
To kill.
It says, Harry raised the wand. Now is the moment to do it.
Do they know how to kill?
Well, I was wondering the same thing. I'm
Great question.
Is he going to use other spells to kill someone eventually? Because it feels like he doesn't know the real killing spells. Right?
And that's why I was like, why does he keep covering the heart? Like, does he know a spell to like take your heart out?
Oh.
Like lift
Indiana
up.
Like,
Jones.
Well, that would make a lot of sense. Like, yeah.
That's the only thing I could think of. Like, what was it like? Expelliarmus? Whatever.
Expelliarmus. You nailed it.
Expelliarmus to his heart, and it disarms him of his heart. Oh my gosh.
Is there a spell to stop someone's
Gruesome.
heart? Like not like a...
I mean, sure, but like a lot of spells are based around emotion. So it feels like heads and hearts are pretty important.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm even thinking of what's the Buckbeak's cutting off the head of a magical creature. Maybe that's like certain things need that, but humans, I mean, heart's pretty important, and for a wizard, I feel like even more so.
It does show the progression of magic that they're learning too, because he has the idea that he wants to kill him here with his wand specifically. And the previous book, when they're dueling, or was that the first book when he got in a row with Draco and Ron was like, I'm going to be a second. That was the first book, the Midnight Duel, where Harry or Ron essentially said, don't worry, the worst you're going to give each other are nosebleeds. So they go from the first book where they're going to give each other nosebleeds to right now where Harry actually is kind of convinced that he can kill him.
Yeah, in 2 years.
In 2 years, which is crazy.
That's nuts.
We don't really know what the killing curse is now.
And where would you learn that? What class?
I don't know. Do you think that they should teach that at Hogwarts?
No.
That's like something that we talked about before.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Should
even
this be
these...
censored?
Oh, yeah, you did say
Wait,
that.
are they called themselves the Marauders? Like
Yeah.
they made the map and all that?
Yeah.
It feels like they're learning stuff beyond that. So you just went through the whole list of things you'd have to do to become an Animagus. And I mean, that's not in a book. They don't want people doing this.
Yeah.
It feels like you would have to go to the Ministry of Magic even just to get it's not a potion, it's not ingredients or a recipe, but like the steps. So even if Hogwarts is trying to keep people from learning, there are ways. I don't know.
Yeah, there's definitely ways. Like there's even outside of the restricted section, I'm sure there's stuff in the restricted section that they can learn that's like they really won't teach, but they'll have on file, you know? I'm sure some kind of killing curse is probably in there somewhere. Like, I can't imagine, like you said it, the spells have to be performed with a lot of emotion and feeling behind it. I'm sure there's not just a willy-nilly spell that you can just kill someone with.
I feel like it almost feels like the average student at Hogwarts couldn't do it even if they wanted to. Yeah. But in this moment, I feel like Harry had that I'll even say like dark emotion. Like he genuinely wanted to kill someone here. So I think he would have been able to if he knew the words to say. But any other student, even Malfoy, I don't think would really have enough malice in his heart to kill someone, even if he knew the words.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. Do you think that Harry's anger is justified here? Like when he wants to lash out and kill Black. It says he was going to kill Black. He had to kill Black. This was his chance.
Well, I guess yes and no. Like it's justified as far as he knows. But
yeah, I mean, it's like I was trying to put myself in his shoes, and it's like his parents. He never met his parents because of this person. So it's like, and also that young emotional, you don't really know how to navigate. That's why like a killing spell, I would be against that. Showing it to kids because it's very emotional and you get emotional when you're young, and some kids more than others might not know how to manage that yet appropriately. So in that moment, I'm like, I felt for him because it's like that anger kind of is, you know,
and what
not
if
enough
he did
to kill someone in return.
Yeah.
But
like, I'm still on the fence about how this all ends because there's more to figure out, but we know that Harry wasn't fully justified. Like, what if he did do some like thing that calls his wand to him and then just boom, boom, he just kills two people, Lupin and Sirius Black. Peter Pettigrew comes out, explains his side of the story, and he was right the whole time.
Yeah.
Nobody's there to argue otherwise. That could be really bad.
right.
And so this is just another example of like Harry wasn't really justified. He thought he was. The Ministry of Magic thought they were justified in sending Hagrid to Azkaban and Sirius Black to Azkaban. And although we're still unsure about Sirius Black, we know that there are flaws in this system. So that's why a killing spell only could really be justified if you have a perfect method of justice. Yeah. And they don't.
No.
It was interesting. It was interesting, and I might be jumping into the next chapter. But like when it was just Harry for himself, he wanted to kill. But then when it turned with Lupin and Black against Pettigrew, he stopped them. So it was like for other people, he like thinks more. But for himself, he dove into those emotions and wanted to lean into that. I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of malice in this chapter. For Snape's malice toward them, for Harry's malice toward him, for Sirius's malice toward Scabbers. I feel like it's a good chapter for kids to learn to bridle your anger and frustration like Harry. Like, I'm sure a kid is going to read this right now. Be like, man, there are people in my life, maybe I feel like I want to kill, but you don't know the full story behind certain things. And I feel like it's good to know the full story for, obviously, for something as serious as this. I think that's really good. It also annoys me because Lupin comes in, disarms Harry, and then they have this full conversation. But Black is so unclear in these chapters. I'm like, Sirius Black, you have the story. Just be like, Harry, give me 2 seconds. This is what happened.
I know.
Rather than be like, oh, I could have killed your father.
I know.
Mother. I'm like, don't say that right now.
So annoying.
So there's this little kid who can literally kill you. There's one of my favorite paragraphs in this whole book here. It says Lupin spoke in an odd voice, a voice that shook with some suppressed emotion. Where is he, Sirius? Harry looked quickly at Lupin. He didn't understand what Lupin meant. Who was Lupin talking about? He turned to look at Black again. Black's face was quite expressionless. For a few seconds, he didn't move at all. Then, very slowly, he raised his empty hand and pointed straight at Ron. Mystified, Harry glanced around at Ron, who looked bewildered. But then, Lupin muttered, staring at Black so intently it seemed he was trying to read his mind. Why hasn't he shown himself before now? Unless... Lupin's eyes suddenly widened, as though he was seeing something beyond Black. Something none of the rest could see. Unless he was the one. Unless you switched without telling me. Very slowly, his sunken gaze, never leaving Lupin's face. Black nodded. Do you understand what they're talking about here?
At first, I was confused.
I didn't go back and read this afterwards, so hearing you say it now, I'm putting it together, and it makes sense.
Yeah. What are they talking about here, though?
So they're pointing at Ron, pointing at Scabbers. And I'm trying to think, who knows? Like, yeah, so Sirius Black already knows that Scabbers is Peter Pettigrew. So Lupin is now figuring that out as well. Mm-hmm. And he was still questioning whether Sirius Black was the spy. And now he's saying they switched, meaning
the secret keeper.
The secret keeper, right.
Yeah.
And then also who betrayed. It wasn't Sirius, it was Peter Pettigrew.
I'm still so confused about that story.
The secret keeper?
Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah, what do you... Like, let's talk about that for a second. The whole idea of the secret keeper. Do you guys actually understand that?
I mean, I'm thinking it's that the secret... What is it?
Secret keeper, yeah.
Yeah, okay. That person is the one that's hiding or concealing where the Potters were. Mm-hmm. And so that I understand, but it's like the flip-flopping. I'm so confused as to like, so Sirius was going to do it, but then he gave it to Peter because he was trying to trick Voldemort.
Yeah.
And I don't get it though.
You explained it perfectly.
Yeah.
I know, but like, how is he trying to trick Voldemort? Like, it doesn't make sense.
So
according to that was because Black thought that Lupin could be the spy.
Not quite. At least for what I think. I think...
What you know.
Well, no, you don't quite know. It's not really explained past this, which is like an interesting point. Like, it could be that maybe Black was suspicious of Lupin a little bit, but like the pecking order of how good these people were at being wizards. Like, I think James and Sirius were pretty much on par. They were excellent wizards and they had confidence. Lupin seems like someone who had skill but didn't have a ton of confidence, and Peter Pettigrew had no confidence and had very little skill.
Which is why he
followed them, because he followed people of great power. So when Sirius is thinking he could possibly give it to Lupin, but he has like this inner pride. He's like, Voldemort is coming after me because he knows that I'm the most powerful out of this friend group. I'm his best friend. He's definitely coming after me. Let's try to trick him and give it to Peter. And the whole idea of the secret keeper, you conceal where these people are hidden. And unless it's like, I guess, brought out of you, unless you actually reveal it yourself willingly, then the person will never know where you are.
But they can kill you. Like
they can kill you, but they can't extract that information from you.
But that's the part that confuses me. You have to give the information willingly.
Yeah.
Although I guess under torture, is that willingly? Because you're willing the torture to end. So I guess that still could be willingly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does feel like an odd move. Hindsight is 20/20, and it definitely was the wrong move. Now we can see that. But at the time, maybe they're trying to play a little chess here and outsmart the Dark Lord, see if it goes well.
But I just don't get what he thought the outcome would have been. Then Sirius Black would have died.
Well, right. And so Voldemort finds him, tortures him. Eventually he dies, never having given up the information. And then if he did die, or he even kills himself and says, Voldemort, you're never going to get this information. Boom, he dies. Then, like, I guess in theory he gives up. And then Lily and James and Harry would be safe. Still seems a little weird.
Yeah. It wasn't the most airtight plan. I mean, they were probably fresh out of Hogwarts, probably a little terrified. They didn't quite have the best mindset around this thing, so it probably wasn't the right move in hindsight. But I guess if you're in that moment, you're like, this sounds like a decent plan. Like, it sounds like it can go well. If Voldemort is coming after me, there's no chance he's going to go after Peter Pettigrew. Peter Pettigrew is the least of us. Like, he's not a capable wizard. He didn't understand he was a spy at that point. That's the only thing.
Right. But he already said that he was hanging out with the wrong crowd and stuff, so why would you trust someone with that? That's why I was like, you're willing to die for them. Why wouldn't you keep it? Like, that just doesn't make sense. Yeah, that's a frustrating point for me too. That's a big issue that I have with Sirius in this moment, is that it was just such a stupid move. You're trusting a guy who can transform into a rat. Like, it should be a telltale sign.
Right.
And then it makes me think the Potters must be really wanted by Voldemort because Sirius Black is really good. You were just comparing the two, being like high up wizards are very talented. So I just find it still, obviously it's the point of the story, but I'm like, what is so intriguing about the Potters that Voldemort, they need like a secret keeper? Dun dun dun.
Yeah. I mean, they created this Marauders map. They became Animagus. So maybe it's just like for the sole reason that he sees them as being incredible wizards. And he's like, there's 4 of them coming up. well, really 3. Like Lupin might be my favorite of the bunch too. I just love Lupin in this section because he's just like, he's a bit more like Hermione, I guess. A bit more logical about certain things, a little bit more like educated about certain things. So maybe this is a threat to them.
I don't know. The part of me with the werewolf thing, I'm like, can Lupin turn into his werewolf and then attack Voldemort?
Ooh.
And kill him?
I think
not.
What do you guys think about that?
Because then I would be like, you got the double whammy. You're a wizard and a werewolf.
I mean,
I don't know if that's good or bad. But.
He'd be pretty powerful as a werewolf. And there is some magic involved. I thought of... Oh, yeah, no, what were you going to say? Defense of the Dark Arts?
In Defense Against the Dark Arts, they have a chapter on werewolves. I feel like once you know how to defend yourself against a werewolf, it might be more predictable than fighting another wizard. So I feel like Voldemort would know how to defend himself against a werewolf maybe more than he would against Dumbledore.
And then Lupin says he can't really think like himself, right? He just becomes an animal. Darn it. There goes that theory.
That is a great theory, though. I like how we're devising ways to overthrow Voldemort right now. If all of them transform into their animal cells, I feel like we got a shot. And then Dumbledore. So they all distract him. Dumbledore comes in and finishes them off.
Why hasn't this been done before? Interesting.
But do you guys actually understand the idea of the Secret Keeper here? Like, what do you think is still unclear about that in your minds?
I think I'm still wrapping my head around that the secret is not just in words. It's like a physical location that is hidden from everyone else in the world because it's being held. It's almost like not just a key. It's almost like invisibility of this entire location is trapped within someone. Mm-hmm. So there's just more to this secret than words.
Yeah.
So that's the hard part to figure out.
They're actually in a location.
Physically, yes.
But it's like kept. Is it like Muggles with the platform? Like
3/4?
Yes.
I guess it's something
in a
like
way
that.
where it's like
that's a good comparison.
You can't see it, doesn't exist unless you were given access to it.
I think it's something like that. So it's the Fidelius charm. So the Fidelius charm is actually protecting you, and it doesn't matter how much Voldemort wants to try to find them. He could never find them as long as that charm's over. So the only possible way that he can find them is if he contacts the Secret Keeper and willingly gets it out of him. And I guess torture could be a way of willingly getting information out of someone, but that's literally the only magical way, unless the Secret Keeper dispels that information or they get rid of the Fidelius charm somehow.
Are they trapped inside, or can they also leave? Like James and Lily. That's the part that I'm still figuring out. And also, I'm wondering about James Potter. Did he did this Marauders map? I'm kind of assuming he's the main dude here. Did he create the invisibility cloak? Is that something he's really good at? And did he learn about this Secret Keeper charm somewhere else? Or is this something he kind of invented? Like maybe they didn't even know for sure how it was going to work. Especially if it's like some kind of hidden thing.
Do you think that he would have the ability to create an invisibility cloak?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, they became Animagus. Animagi. That's a plural of it, sorry.
Why couldn't they make like a huge one then to cover their house?
Well, that's what I'm kind of thinking this is. It's like a giant cloaking thing. And maybe because they didn't know how to fully do it, like he couldn't do this from within, but he had to have another person involved, someone outside. And I'm also thinking, it might not be true, but in my mind, I'm thinking a lot of the good, powerful spells, wouldn't they have like, there's like a negative to them, a drawback. Like the drawback would be maybe they're trapped inside. You know, like it can't all just be this perfect magical spell. Like now they're safe forever. There's a weakness to it. The weakness is someone on the outside has the key. Maybe you can't even get out without it. But then, I don't know, if that person gets found out, you're exposed.
And like, how long is this for? Was it like he's a secret keeper for a month, months? Was it just a day? Was it Voldemort's coming tonight, so you're just a secret keeper now?
It seems to be a little bit longer than just a day, I would say. But maybe it is. Maybe it is just like he's coming, so like let's do this charm quick. Oh, let's try to trip him up. Let's put it on Peter. But the only thing that I think it's a little different is that in later chapters when Black is talking to Peter, he's like, it must have been the best day of your life when you were able to go to him and say that you were the secret keeper. So it seems like this was a spell that was done for a prolonged period of time, like to protect them for that amount of time. And then Peter was the spy and betrayed them. And that's how we got the information. That's why we found out where they were.
Also, couldn't they have all come together to go against Voldemort? I guess he was too powerful at the time. Because you were saying that these wizards are really powerful, like James Potter and
James did
Black.
Yeah.
So and like Dumbledore and other we're talking about every wizard we know.
That's why I find it interesting. Like, he's on a rampage, and then all of a sudden it's like everyone's hiding. But like, couldn't they have come together? I guess I'm missing something that maybe we'll find out.
Of like what Voldemort's power.
Or why
really
didn't
was.
James leave his wife and baby and leave?
And he could be the secret keeper.
That could be the
he
secret.
Just leaves.
Yeah, there's so many other options. I thought.
That's a good point.
Yeah, these are great ideas. Jen, you should just you should be the voice of reason. Implant yourself into the story. Be like, James, Lily, let's think about this logically for a second. Okay?
Like, why do you all be together?
And I guess if these guys did create the Marauders map, they know how easy it can be for some wizards to find people. And if these are they were 5th years at the time, I think, with the map. Or maybe that was with the animal stuff.
Yeah,
but they're like, hey, this is the most powerful dark wizard in the world. He probably knows how to make the same map that we did in school. So a Ministry of Magic, we think, probably already has some technology like that. So if Voldemort's looking for them through that, even with an invisibility cloak on, which James had, they can still be seen on the Marauders map. So maybe that's why they had to do this next layer. But something about the whole secret thing, it feels like not the right strategy. But I think I understand how it works now.
Well, yeah, it wasn't the right strategy.
Well, I go back and forth.
I feel like it was the right strategy, but they just put their trust in the wrong person.
But he was going to kill... I feel like regardless, even if Black had continued to be the secret keeper, he's going to torture him and get it out of him, and then they're going to find them.
But Black could have gone on the run a bit better and could have maybe put up some kind of fight. Like, I feel like he was in better standing with some other people that, like, he knew people, even like him and Lupin, like, they could have protected each other. If it wasn't someone who was just a spy and was going to go willingly give the information away, if it was Lupin or if it was Sirius, they could have at least fought and maybe staved him off a little bit. But I think it does show also the power of Voldemort and that these 4 people actually feared him enough to do this spell. But they're immense. They created the Marauders map. They became Animagi. They're great wizards. And Voldemort is so menacing that he even instills fear in them. So Voldemort is like a next level wizard. He can't break magical traditions of like the Fidelius charm. He can't like break through things like that. But if he's gonna find someone, you can't get in his way. You can't stop him from certain things.
What made him so powerful?
And can wizards read minds?
Do you think wizards can read minds?
Well, maybe that's why James wasn't outside of his... Like, that's why he wasn't the secret keeper for the location of his son. I'm thinking, like, something about being out there must have been less safe. Otherwise, that would be the right move. If they were perfectly safe and he could hold the secret. Yeah, I kind of feel like wizards can read minds. That they can see the future.
Well, Voldemort was saying... I think that may play into what you're saying is that... was it the chamber? I forget which one, first or second book, when Voldemort tells Quirrell, so the first book,
right,
that he has it in his pocket. And how would he know that? The Sorcerer's Stone, because remember how it? I don't know. Like that makes me think like maybe Ken read. Never mind. I don't know where I'm going.
No, I think I know what you're saying. Like at the time, he knew more than Harry said out loud.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking he's reading his mind.
Even if it was just body language or something else. I forget exactly.
Or did like magic call to magic? Do you think he can like sense magic more than reading his mind?
Oh, maybe.
In that instance.
And also I'm thinking the emotional thing again. There's like an emotional component, and love is powerful enough that Lily can protect Harry. So if James Potter is out there in the world and Voldemort finds him and defeats him, whatever that might look like, even just that love could maybe be sensed. That sounds mystical and ridiculous, but like there's like a connection between people. I also am going a little farther back and thinking, I don't know if we addressed it. Like we know that Voldemort is the Slytherin heir. Is there a Gryffindor heir? Could James have been a Gryffindor heir? Could Harry be a Gryffindor heir? And who was the first Slytherin dude? Starts with an S. Something. Salazar. Like, I'm like, could this be a house battle that just goes back 1,000 years? Could Salazar actually be the real Dark Lord, or taking the form of Voldemort, or putting his like intention down the line? I still can't figure out what's so significant about Harry yet, and why James and Lily knew that Harry was a target. He is more important than we know yet.
But
we don't know why. But he couldn't be a Gryffindor heir because he almost was a Slytherin. I don't know.
There's got to be something I want to know now.
Until next time on. There's a lot of loose ends. We'll figure out maybe some of those by the end of this book. But as we go on, a few quick wrap-up questions for these 2 chapters. We only got through 2 chapters today.
They're so meaty, though.
I know. They're meaty chapters. What is your favorite moment in these 2 chapters?
I think for me, it was the moment where Ron says you'll have to kill all of us. Just because it was so heroic, and he's sitting there with a broken leg and just like being a champ. So great.
I liked getting answers for things.
Oh, yeah.
That was probably very satisfying for me. I like to know why.
Yeah.
Toddler.
Yeah.
It was even tough coming up with questions for some of these chapters because you're just getting answers. So my questions are just, do you understand this? Do you understand what this does? Do you understand
it's like reactions to the answers. Yeah.
It's like, what do you think of her prophecy here? It's not like, do you think this is right or wrong? It's like, what do you actually think of it? Because it seems like it's pretty right. Yeah.
And also like ending after chapter 17, we got some answers, but we still don't really know what's right yet. We're still figuring out. It feels like there are just like 3 chapters of answers, and some of them are conflicting. So even by the time chapter 19 ends, we're still left with questions. So yeah, some answers very satisfying. Other ones I'm a little skeptical of.
Yeah, I think so.
I have weird moments that I like. I like that moment that Hermione found Scabbers, but then I also really like when Crookie turned off the tree, the lumping tree.
Oh yeah, that was funny.
I don't know why. I imagine. Do you ever see those videos where like somebody does something and then it's like the glasses go on and it's like, man, it feels good to be a gangster. I pictured that happening after just like walks in, turns the tree off. That's weird moments.
Yes, Crookshank's gangster moment.
Yes, so that's mine.
That's a great moment though. This is a cool image. Just freezes.
Yeah.
I think my favorite moment is Lupin coming to the realization that Peter, not Sirius, was a secret keeper. I love that paragraph. I think it's just such good writing. It just is so emotional too. Like Lupin finally coming to this realization. His friendship is completely restored because in the next one, one of the next things he says, her voice is wavering out of control, Hermione, and all the time you've been his friend. You're wrong, said Lupin. I haven't been Sirius's friend for 12 years, but I am now. Let me explain. I love that. Like immediately this friendship is reconciled because he knows what actually happened in the story. I think it's just so beautiful.
I was right.
Yeah.
He was not bad.
I know. Yeah. We're nailing our predictions right now. Who is your favorite character in these chapters? We have a lot in these 2 chapters.
I like Lupin a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If Sirius Black was a bit more, if he wasn't like beating around the bush so much, that just annoyed me so much. I'm like, dude, Harry's pointing his wand at your face, literally about to murder you, chop your head off. And you're just going, oh, I might as well have murdered your parents. It was definitely my fault. I'm like, dude, just say time out. Say, Peter, that rat over there is Peter Pettigrew. I can prove it if you just give me 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And Harry's like, okay, I'm intrigued enough. Like, dude, stop driving out the story. If he was clearer, I would give it to Sirius, but I think I'm giving it to Lupin here too. Or Ron. Ron is great.
Ron was great.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it to Ron. But
yeah, and then me being weird again. Crookie.
Yeah.
This animal. I don't know if anything different is gonna happen, but like it's an animal figuring all this out and working with Sirius Black. I thought that was right. Didn't we get to that?
Yeah.
It can't just be an animal.
That I said that. I'm like figuring all this out and purely animal. It's purely animal. ... That we know of. I don't know. But
because I'm trying to
like
think
working
of
behind the
even
scenes.
like.
well, now I'm curious. Is the cat in the movie? You seem to know less about the cat than I thought. Interesting.
I know a lot less than I'd care to admit.
Yeah, you know movies very well, but you don't know what happens in the end game of the books very well.
Yes, because I only read the books once, and
Which
I did
is-
not go deep into it.
Yeah.
Like I read the books knowing the storyline, and I'm like, oh, this is weird. This is different.
Right.
Because I knew the movies.
And that makes me happy too, even for your two's sake, because you don't trust what she says, because the movies are so different from the books that there's such a disparity between the two that it's completely different. Like how they end, like different avenues that the books take versus the movies. They're completely two different pieces of work. You're going to see that after the third movie. I love the third movie to death, but it is where it completely takes on a different life of its own rather than the book. It's very different from the book. So like you don't know Endgame stuff for a book very well, which is great because you might be thinking she's giving away spoilers, but it's not.
But it's not, right?
I don't know.
Another layer of confusion. I love it. Also, by the end of this chapter, since we did already read the two more, by the end of this one, I was not sold on Lupin yet. I still was very skeptical of him. So that's why I can't say Lupin, even though I love him as a teacher.
Maybe I combine the two.
So I'll be like, you know what? Ron's my boy.
Yeah. And I'll probably say this at the beginning of the podcast too, but we are covering this week chapters 16, 17, 18, and 19, but we're breaking this up into two because there's so much information here because it's such a dense few chapters. We're going to break it up into 16 and 17, and then 18 and 19 we'll release it all in 1 week. But if you're reading along with us, because I know some of you guys are, I'll probably say this at the beginning because it's got to be spoiler free. Read 16, 17, 18, and 19 this week. Don't read, because we're probably giving away a few small little spoilers for 18 and 19. Again, this is just a mental note to myself for editing. Throw this at the beginning of the podcast. Any last little tidbits on this? Chapters 16 and 17?
No, but I get what you were saying about this book turning the corner.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that'll be the last question. Do you guys feel like this book is where it does completely get to be an incredible series?
Yeah.
Like, how hooked are you guys?
So
hooked. And now we can't read.
But you guys actually are into like understanding how good this book is and how it's gonna get better as the series goes on.
And it feels like Harry, Ron, and Hermione are like, they're the main characters, obviously, but it feels like getting peeks at the Marauders crew. I'm like, oh, they're the main characters. You know, like there were other people that were doing like awesome epic things that could have had entire books written about them. So the world just got that much bigger and hints at all these things that are even bigger beyond this. Yeah. So it's... And
JK, if you're listening to this, please write more books about the Marauders. Give me more material here, please. You've given us a lot, but give me full books on the Marauders, please.
It's just funny because like I feel like, not that I got all the answers, but I'm like, oh, okay, like I feel like she could tie it up in another book and be done. No, I know, that's what I'm saying though. From right now, I'm like, oh, where else can this go? So I am excited that there's 7 books, but like it's just interesting because I'm like, I feel like we're getting answers, and like one more book should. Yeah. Oh my gosh, look at your face expression.
There are so many more questions.
No, I know.
Answer.
I have no idea. That's why I'm just
up.
like, I love it because I'm like, I know it's not just this because it would end in a book.
Yes.
And one more.
Sigh of content.
Your giddy face.
I know. 5-year-old in a chocolate shop.
Yep. Damn right.
Pretty much.
Well, Thanks for joining us on our journey of Harry Potter and the First Time Readers. Until next time. Thanks again for listening. Join our subreddit r/firsttimereaders. This week we are talking about the movie of Prisoner of Azkaban and what was good in it and what was bad in it. And then we're going to go deep dive into the Goblet of Fire, which I am really looking forward to. Reminder, give us a rating and review. That helps the podcast out a ton. And our music is by Jacob Petrus and our designer is Zachary Rupert.